Hello everyone. In this video we will be covering the concept of limiting conductivities and also one of the important law which we call as Colrausch law. So especially in competitive examinations we do get questions on this Colrausch law. So in the previous video we had talked about what is conductance of electrolyte, how do we measure conductance. Basically we will get resistance, 1 by resistance will be conductance, and from conductance we will get the conductivity. Conductivity is also called as what? Specific conductance. So conductivity we will indicate this with a symbol kappa. So kappa will be the conductivity, or it is also called as what? Specific conductance. Now the molar conductivity or equivalent conductivity, which we were indicating with the symbols lambda m or lambda equivalent EQ, they are better representation of comparing how good two electrolytes are in terms of their conductivity, because here molar conductivity is conductivity because of 1 mole of electrolyte particles. Equivalent conductivity is conductivity because of 1 equivalent of the electrolyte particles. So if you want to compare electrolyte 1 and electrolyte 2, then it is better to use either the molar conductivity or equivalent conductivity values. So this is the background we have covered, and we even saw the formula, like we have covered about the formulas for lambda m and formulas for lambda equivalent. So I hope you guys have gone through that video. If not, I'll just quickly give you the idea. So lambda m will be kappa into 1000 by C. C is what? Molarity. And the kappa, which is the conductivity, will be in the units of Siemens centimeter inverse. So when we multiply conductivity with volume of the solution in centimeter cube that contains 1 mole of that electrolyte, that is what will be the molar conductivity. So molar conductivity will be having the units of Siemens centimeter square per mole. Similarly, the equivalent conductivity will be kappa into 1000 by C. Here the C will be normality. So this will be conductivity into volume of the solution in centimeter cube that contains exactly 1 equivalent of the electrolyte. So here also it will be Siemens centimeter inverse kappa unit, and lambda equivalent will be Siemens centimeter square, because we are multiplying with centimeter cube per equivalent. This will be the unit of lambda equivalent. So this is what we have covered in the previous video regarding the conductance in electrolytes. Now in this video we are going to talk about the next ideas related to the conductivity. So the ones that we are going to talk about are: 1, limiting conductivities. What is basically the limiting conductivity and the concept of limiting conductivity, and one of the important laws related to the conductivity, which is the Colrausch law and its applications. Okay guys, so we'll just get into the discussion. So if you basically look at the difference between conductivity, which we also call as specific conductance, this is kappa, and molar conductivity, lambda m. The difference between these two is conductivity or specific conductance is due to the electrolyte particles present in specific volume. Maybe if you look at 1 centimeter cube volume or 1 cc, so it is about the conductivity of the particles present in a specific volume between the two electrodes. So the electrolyte that we are going to focus on will be the electrolyte that is present between the two electrodes. Whereas the molar conductivity is the conductivity that is because of 1 mole of electrolyte particles. So here we are limiting the number of particles. Here we are basically limiting the number of particles. And as a result, what we see is generally when we decrease the concentration, means we dilute it. When we decrease the concentration or we dilute it, if you take some specific volume, concentration decreasing means what happens? The number of electrolyte particles are also going to decrease, since we are decreasing concentration. As a result of it, generally what is observed is, if we dilute or if we decrease the concentration, what is observed is the conductivity values are going to decrease. Why? Because in that volume that we are considering, the number of particles, electrolyte particles, are going to decrease. So the conductivity because of them will be always going to decrease. Whereas the same will not be the case of molar conductivity. Why? Because here we are not talking about the electrolyte particles present in some specific volume. We are talking about the specific number of electrolyte particles. We are saying 1 mole of electrolyte particles. Similarly, when we talk about the equivalent conductivity, there we will be talking about what? We will talk about conductivity coming from 1 equivalent of the electrolyte particles. So we are fixing the count of particles there. So the behavior of conductivity and molar conductivity will be different when we are changing concentration. So if you are changing concentration or if you are changing the dilution level, so usually the thing is, if you dilute more, means what happens? The concentration of electrolyte will be decreasing. Okay, so this is what we will see as the effect of dilution or concentration change on conductivity and molar conductivity. So we'll talk about what will be the effect on the molar conductivity. Generally what happens, the 1 mole of electrolyte particles we take, not all the particles will form ions, and what is observed is that dilution will help more dissociation of particles, because each electrolyte particle will be far away, so each of them will be able to undergo the dissociation easily. So what usually is observed is, whether it is the molar conductivity or equivalent conductivity, if you dilute it, means the electrolyte particles can easily undergo dissociation, thereby they will be able to form the respective ions. Means the general observation is, on diluting, the molar conductivity value will increase and equivalent conductivity value also will be increasing. Why? Because here we are fixing number of moles of particles. Yes, we are having, say for example, for the molar conductivity, 1 mole of electrolyte particles are there already, and if you dilute, so usually at normal concentration, means not all the 1 mole particles are going to dissociate, and only the particles dissociating will give ions. Only ions will be resulting in the conductivity or conductance. So which means we require ions. If we dilute, means more and more particles can dissociate. Already we are having 1 mole, the fixed count is there. In that, more amount of particles will dissociate, and hence the conductivity will keep on increasing. And we'll see that it is not going to increase forever. It is going to only increase till all these 1 mole particles are dissociating. That's it, right? Because we have only 1 mole particles in case of molar conductivity. In case of equivalent conductivity, we have 1 mole of, or 1 equivalent of particles. It is going to increase till all the 1 equivalent of particles are dissociating. So we'll talk about it, what happens. So it is not going to increase forever. It is going to increase till it reaches one particular value. We'll see, we'll have a specific name for that. That is what we will be calling as the limiting conductivities. So I'm just giving you an introduction here, but we'll talk about it later, that the maximum value we are seeing, right, is basically what we'll call as limiting conductivity. So guys, before we get into the next discussion, the idea is dilution will decrease conductivity or specific conductance, and dilution in general will increase both molar conductivity as well as equivalent conductivity. Now if you talk about the molar conductivity of an electrolyte, it not only depends upon the nature of electrolyte, but also depends upon the concentration. Why? Nature of electrolyte is important. Some electrolytes, they dissociate more. We will call them as, by the way, strong electrolytes. Okay, so strong electrolytes are basically the ones that dissociate more, and weak electrolytes, they dissociate less. Okay, so the strong electrolytes, whatever be the concentration, their extent of dissociation will be more. And weak electrolytes, if you compare, right, at the same concentration, if both of them are in the same concentration, means strong electrolyte will dissociate more, weak electrolyte will dissociate less. Now if we look at a particular concentration, right, the strong electrolyte will definitely have a higher molar conductivity than weak electrolyte. But what we see is the molar conductivity of strong electrolyte will marginally increase as we decrease the electrolyte concentration. Means concentration decreasing means what? Dilution. This is what we were discussing before, right? What we are discussing before is if you decrease the concentration of the particular solution, means dilution is going to increase. What the dilution would see? Dilution will be able to have more and more of these electrolyte particles to easily dissociate. But the thing is, in case of strong electrolyte, there is going to be only a marginal increase, whereas we will see an appreciable increase in the case of weak electrolyte. Why? Because weak electrolytes, under normal circumstances, they are not dissociating much. So if you keep on diluting, means there is more chance for the particles to dissociate, and we see a significant increase. So dilution will only have a marginal increase in the case of strong electrolyte molar conductivity, but it is going to have a significant increase in the case of the weak electrolytes. We'll see the graphical representation also. We can see over here, if we are plotting lambda m. So lambda m represents what? Lambda m represents molar conductivity, let us say. So if you plot it with regard to root of concentration, then we see that as concentration is decreasing, so when we come to the left, means it is decreasing. As concentration is decreasing, the molar conductivity value is going to increase. So we see this is a straight line. It is going to go and touch it axis over here. But we see that this is a straight line, and the change is not that much. Whereas in case of weak electrolyte, you see as the concentration is decreasing further, right, we will see this is going to go on increasing. So the effect of dilution is more prominent in the case of the weak electrolyte than in the case of the strong electrolyte. Even for some electrolytes, it's a straight line, but it will be almost like a horizontal straight line. It will not be like exactly horizontal, but it is going to be almost an horizontal straight line kind of a thing. Okay, so this is what we will be observing. Okay, and the molar conductivity, when we have infinite dilution means what? This root of concentration term is approaching almost to 0. That is what we call as infinite dilution. The molar conductivity at infinite dilution is called as limiting molar conductivity. So this is what we were referring to. It is not going to increase forever. It is going to reach some saturation value. So this limiting molar conductivity corresponds to what? It corresponds to when all the 1 mole of the electrolyte particles are dissociated completely. So this is indicated by either lambda m naught or lambda m infinity. So the limiting molar conductivity, either we will use lambda m naught or we use lambda m infinity. Now coming to the strong electrolyte discussion, right, we said strong electrolyte, the effect of dilution will not be as prominent as it is in the case of the weak electrolyte. So if you look at the plot lambda m and root of concentration, it will be a straight line. So the straight line will be having a negative slope. We can see the slope is what? Negative. Slope is, let's say for example, in this case minus a is the slope, and we will see that the straight line will touch the y-axis at a point lambda m naught. This is what we are calling as the limiting molar conductivity, the limiting value of the molar conductivity. That is the, when the root C value, root concentration value, root C value is almost becoming 0, this is the value of the molar conductivity. So if you look at the straight line equation, right, what will be the straight line equation? Lambda m is equal to lambda m naught minus a into root C, because when root C is becoming 0, lambda m value is what? Lambda m naught, and slope of this is what? Minus a. This is like the equation y is equal to c plus m into x. Don't confuse between this c and this c. This is constant c. This is basically constant c. Like in mathematics, we'll see the equation of straight line, right? Y is equal to c plus mx means what? It is a straight line with slope m. So here what is the slope? Minus a is slope. X coordinate is what? Root concentration term. And constant here is what? Lambda m naught. Y coordinate is what? Lambda m. So we'll see that the intercept of the y-axis is what? Lambda m naught. That is the limiting molar conductivity, and slope is what? Minus a. And here there is something interesting about the slope. sometimes we can expect some questions on this, especially the theoretical kind of questions. The magnitude of slope for a given solvent and temperature depends upon the cations and anions produced on dissociation of electrolyte. So if we fix solvent is fixed and temperature is also fixed, both are fixed, then the magnitude of the slope means we can say A value or whatever mod A, it depends upon the cations and anions produced on dissociation of the electrolyte. It means if we have electrolytes having same type of charges, then they are going to have the same values for A. Means if say for example we have NaCl, it is going to produce what? One cation, one anion. So we'll say 1 type. Let's say we have KCl, that is also going to have almost same value of A. If I have some other, like say for example we have potassium RbCl, all of them are going to have the same value for A. Next we have calcium chloride, basically 2,1 type. So the charge of calcium is 2 and the charge of chlorine is what? 1. Then we have 2,2 type, means charge of magnesium is what? 2, and charge of sulfate ion is what? 2. So depending upon the type of ions present, the electrolytes are going to have the same value of A. Clear guys? So we just need to look at the nature of the charges on the ions. When we have same type of charges coming for the electrolyte ions, the electrolytes are going to be having the same value for the slope magnitude. So this is about the effect of dilution or concentration change on the strong electrolyte. Now if we compare for a strong electrolyte like KCl, KCl is a strong electrolyte. We have the concentration terms here, corresponding conductivity values and corresponding molar conductivity. So conductivity is given in terms of what? Siemens per centimeter or Siemens per meter. Molarity is given either in terms of moles per liter or moles per meter cube. So this is what is the units that we are generally following. Molarity means what? We are using mole per liter. Conductivity means we are using what? Siemens per centimeter. Molar conductivity means we are using Siemens centimeter square per mole. This is the units that we are generally following. So we'll just try to look at it. Other 3 data points are basically the unit conversions. So the observation that we have is, when the concentration, as we see here, right, as we go down, what is happening? Concentration is decreasing. Observe it. From 1 it is becoming 0.1 and then 0.01. As concentration is decreasing, what is happening to the conductivity? Conductivity value is decreasing. How it is decreasing? 0.1113, it is becoming 0.0129, it is becoming 0.00141. So as concentration is decreasing, the conductivity value is also decreasing. This is what we discussed, right? Why is it happening? Conductivity means it is because of the conductivity coming from specific volume. Let's say for example 1 cc or 1 centimeter cube volume of the electrolyte we take. In this much volume, whatever the number of electrolyte particles are there, the conductivity coming from that is what we call as conductivity or the specific conductance. And if we decrease concentration, means the available number of electrolyte particles itself will decrease, right? So as a result of it, what is going to happen? The conductivity is going to decrease. Whereas if you look at the other data, what is the other data? Molar conductivity. Remember what we discussed? Molar conductivity means we are already fixing that, okay, we are going to follow 1 mole of electrolyte particles and we will see what is the conductivity of them. So as you decrease the molarity or decrease the concentration, means the particles are now going to occupy more volume. So this is dilution. Same 1 mole particles are now in a large volume, they are diluted. So the chance for the dissociation is going to increase. So more and more dissociation is going to happen. So as a result, what we see is from 111.3 it is increasing to 129 and it is increasing to 141. We already saw the graph also. What is the graph going to be? For strong electrolytes, it is going to be like a straight line and it will be touching the y-axis at lambda m infinity, the limiting value of molar conductivity. So this is how we can look at the effect of concentration on the conductivity value and molar conductivity. So whatever the trend we are seeing for the molar conductivity, right, same trend is going to be happening for the equivalent conductivity also. Now just to summarize the effect of dilution, what we see is the specific conductance will decrease with increase in dilution. Why? What is happening? Because the presence of number of ions in that specific volume we choose is going to decrease. So since we are keeping some specific volume, in that the number of electrolyte particles count is going to decrease. So as a result of it, dilution is going to decrease. So if we dilute means the kappa value is going to what? Decrease. Kappa is what? Specific conductance or conductivity. The equivalent or molar conductivity will increase with dilution. This is due to the fact that the degree of ionization, this is a technical term that we can use, the degree of ionization, or we can say the fraction of dissociation or percentage dissociation, whatever we want to use, the degree of ionization will increase with dilution. So what we see is with dilution we will see that both lambda m will increase, lambda equivalent also will increase, and when the whole of the electrolyte is ionized, means we are taking, like say for example 1 mole, or we are taking 1 equivalent, then the further addition of water, or we can generally refer to it as a solvent. Adding solvent is going to be called as what? Dilution. If the solvent is water, means we will be adding water, otherwise we are talking about solvent. But most of the electrolytes, right, we will be using water as the solvent. So further addition of solvent or water bring a very small change in the value of the equivalent or molar conductance, and this stage is called as what? Infinite dilution. So like we have discussed it, guys, the dilution is going to increase lambda m value and lambda equivalent values, but not forever. If almost all of these 1 mole particles or 1 equivalent particles are dissociated, right, then adding extra water is not going to see much change in the values of lambda m and lambda equivalent. So when you reach that particular stage where you are not seeing much of a change, right, this stage is called as what? Infinite dilution. So infinite dilution means, does not mean that okay, we are adding infinite amount of water or solvent. This is just a technical way of saying it. Infinite dilution means what? This is the common term that we'll be referring to. Infinite dilution means it is the stage where we added already so much amount of solvent that the further addition of solvent is not causing any significant change in terms of the lambda m value or lambda equivalent value. And what we say is, when we reach this infinite dilution, whatever is the values, we will be calling them as what? The limiting values. Limiting value will be indicated by what? Either lambda m naught or lambda m infinity. For the equivalent, lambda equivalent naught or lambda equivalent infinity. So this is what we will be calling as the limiting value of the molar conductivity and limiting value of the equivalent conductivity. Now we look at the most important part of the discussion, which is the Kohlrausch law of independent migration of ions. So the Kohlrausch law is also called as what? Kohlrausch law of independent migration of ions. We can observe Kohlrausch law either by using the equivalent conductivity concept or by using molar conductivity concept. So the Kohlrausch law that we're talking about, we can either observe it by using the equivalent conductivity concept, or we can observe it by using the molar conductivity concept. So what is this Kohlrausch law? So it's a very basic idea. At infinite dilution, when the dissociation of electrolyte is complete, it's almost complete, each ion makes definite contribution towards the equivalent conductivity of any electrolyte, irrespective of the nature of the other ion. Because we are having infinite dilution, the ions present, right, the cations and anions, they are going to be making contribution for the conductivity independent of, because theoretically it is supposed to be like what? There is enough separation between these ions that they will start moving irrespective of the presence of the other ions nearby, means they will be moving independently. That is why the word independent has come. So these ions are supposed to move independently irrespective of the existence of the other ions nearby. And when that happens, right, each ion is going to make a fixed contribution for the overall conductivity of the electrolyte. And the law for the equivalent conductivity, right, it says like this: the equivalent conductivity of an electrolyte in infinite dilution, which is what we are indicating it as a lambda equivalent infinity, is the sum of equivalent ionic conductivities of cation and anion given by the electrolytes at infinite dilution. So we have cations coming, we have anions are coming. If you take one equivalent of the electrolyte, it is going to give specific number of cations, it is going to give specific number of anions. So the equivalent conductivity of the electrolyte will be equal to what? It will be equal to the equivalent conductivity of the cations plus the equivalent conductivity of the anions. So this is what is the Kohlrausch law in terms of the equivalent conductivities. So just observe it. In case of the equivalent conductivities, the lambda equivalent infinity or the limiting value, so this is what basically the limiting value. So the limiting value of equivalent conductivity is nothing but what? It is nothing but the equivalent conductivity of cations plus equivalent conductivity of anions. So this is what is the Kohlrausch law in terms of the equivalent conductivity. Now we look at the Kohlrausch law in terms of the molar conductivity. So same law we can see in two different manner. So the limiting molar conductivity of electrolyte can be expressed as sum of the individual contributions of anion and cation of the electrolyte. How? If you take an salt like this or electrolyte like this, AX by, on dissociation what it is going to give? It is going to give X number of A type of ions and Y number of B type of ions. Because if you take, say for example, we take barium chloride, what is it going to give us? It is going to give us 1 barium ion and 2 chloride ions. If we take AlCl3, it is going to give us what? 1 aluminum ion and 3 chloride ions. So the molar conductance of cations and anions, when we multiply them with the respective factor, because here how many number of cations are coming? X number of cations are coming. How many number of anions are coming? Y number of anions are coming. So we have to multiply the molar conductivity of the cations with the number of times they are present plus the molar conductivity of the anions plus the number of into the number of times they are present, and that is going to give us the limiting molar conductivity of the electrolyte. So when we are calculating the limiting molar conductivity of the electrolyte, we have to multiply the limiting molar conductivity of the cations by the respective stoichiometric coefficient, and we have to multiply the limiting molar conductivity of the anions by the respective stoichiometric coefficient. Like in this case, right, if you look at AlCl3, what is going to happen? The limiting molar conductivity of AlCl3 is going to be what? The aluminum ions plus 3 times the limiting molar conductivity of chloride ions, because we will get how many aluminum ions? 1 aluminum. How many chloride ions are coming? 3 chloride ions are coming. So this is how we are going to get the limiting molar conductivity as per the Kohlrausch law. So each ion molar conductivity we have to multiply it by the number of times that ion is present, because when this electrolyte is dissociating, right, if you take 1 mole of the electrolyte, we are going to get X moles of cations and Y moles of anions. So accordingly we have to multiply the limiting molar conductivity of the cations by that same X number and limiting molar conductivity of the anions by the same Y number. So this is how we will find the limiting molar conductivity as per the Kohlrausch law. Now we'll just look at some specific examples. If we have say for example magnesium acetate. For this salt, the lambda m infinity, the limiting molar conductivity will be, because when this is dissociating, right, we will get what? Magnesium ions and 2 acetate ions will come. So limiting molar conductivity of magnesium ions plus 2 times the limiting molar conductivity of the acetate ions. Similarly, if we have say for example aluminum hydroxide, for this, if it is dissociating means we will get what? 1 aluminum ion and 3 hydroxide ions. So limiting molar conductivity of AlOH thrice will be the limiting conductivity of the aluminum ions plus 3 times the limiting conductivity of the OH ions. Why? Because on dissociation 1 mole of aluminum hydroxide, right, is going to give us what? 1 mole of aluminum ions plus 3 moles of hydroxide ions. That's why we have to multiply it with 3. Here also 1 mole of magnesium acetate gives 1 mole of magnesium ions, but 2 moles of acetate ions. That's why we are multiplying this with 2. So this is what the Kohlrausch law for finding the limiting molar conductivity of the electrolytes. Now what are the applications of the Kohlrausch law? The applications of the Kohlrausch law are pretty interesting because if you remember in the ionic equilibrium chapter of +1, we would have been talking about alpha. Alpha is what? The degree of dissociation or fraction of dissociation. Alpha is the degree of dissociation or fraction of dissociation. So using this alpha only, we will decide the dissociation constant of the acid, dissociation constant of the base, and so on and so forth. So how do we find the alpha value for the electrolytes? So for any electrolyte, if the electrolyte is fully dissociated, then the fraction of dissociation will be 1. As a result of it, the molar conductivity will be lambda m infinity. At a given concentration, if the degree of dissociation is alpha, only alpha fraction is dissociated. As a result of it, the molar conductivity, let us say, is what? Lambda m. Then these two will be proportional. Means what? The alpha by 1 will be equal to what? Lambda m by lambda m infinity. At any given stage, the ratio of molar conductivity at that given stage divided by the limiting molar conductivity will be equal to what? Alpha. And since the molar conductivity and equivalent conductivity are related, how they are related? Already we saw this. Any stage, molar conductivity will be Z. Z is what? Valency factor into equivalent conductivity. So if you multiply the equivalent conductivity with a Z valency factor depends upon the electrolyte type. For acid, it depends upon the basicity. For the base, it depends upon the acidity. For the salt, it depends upon the total charge of cations of the salt or total charge of anions, whichever, because for the salt, total charge of cations will be same as total charge of the anions. So if we are saying alpha is lambda m by lambda m infinity, the alpha will also be equal to what? Lambda equivalent by lambda equivalent infinity, because so if we look at lambda m infinity means it will be equal to what? Z into lambda equivalent infinity. So if we take a ratio, means this ratio should be equal to the ratio of the equivalent conductivities. Means if we take a ratio of the equivalent conductivity at a given stage divide by the equivalent conductivity at infinite dilution, then that is going to give us what is the value of degree of dissociation at that stage. Or if we have lambda m at a particular stage and we know lambda m infinity, if we take a ratio of them, means it is going to give us alpha. So for the electrolytes, using Kohlrausch law, we can find out what is the degree of dissociation of the weak electrolyte at a given stage, and the degree of dissociation will be useful in finding out a lot of other things. This is what we were discussing. Using the alpha value that we already discussed, we can find the Ka. Ka means what? The dissociation constant of acid. Kb means what? Dissociation constant of base. So using the alpha value, we can find dissociation constant of the acid or dissociation constant of the base. How? If you remember the discussion in case of the ionic equilibrium chapter, so that is why we keep on saying that the electrochemistry and ionic equilibrium chapters, they have a lot of correlation. Even we have seen we have concepts where there is a correlation to the normal equilibrium chapter as well as thermodynamics also. So if you look at the ionic equilibrium, there we talked about the dissociation of a mono basic acid of the type AH. It is going to give A minus and H plus. So if we have a concentration C and alpha is the degree of dissociation, the amount that will be dissociated will be what? C into alpha. Then the amount formed will be C alpha for the anion and C alpha for the cation. So the final concentrations will be what? C alpha here, C alpha here. The Ka for the monobasic acid will be the product ions concentration divided by the acid concentration, which is what? C alpha into C alpha by C into 1 minus alpha, because the C can come out common, we'll have 1 minus alpha. So 1C is cancelled. So what we have, Ka value will be C alpha square by 1 minus alpha. So this is the Ka value in terms of the degree of dissociation alpha and concentration of the acid. Similarly, if we have a monoacidic base, for that also we'll have almost similar formula, but except we'll have, instead of Ka, we are going to have what? Kb. So Kb will be what? C alpha square by 1 minus alpha. So these are the expressions for the mono basic acid or monoacidic base. So here we have formula between alpha and Ka of the acid or alpha and Kb of the base. So this is how we can find the Ka of the weak acid or Kb of the weak base. This is another application of the Kohlrausch law, because once we get the value of alpha means using these formulas we can find the Ka or Kb value. In fact, we will solve some problems also so that you can understand this approach. Then this method is also used to find limiting conductivity of unknown weak electrolyte. This is an interesting thing. So this method we can use to find the limiting conductivity of unknown weak electrolyte. How? We'll just take a look at a particular example. Let us say, for example, we want to find the limiting conductivity of sodium acetate. So we want to find lambda m infinity for this. We'll see how we can find this out. And as a formula, right, you know what this will be equal to? It will be equal to lambda, because on dissociation it is going to give us what? One acetate ion and one Na plus. Both will be 1 1. So the limiting molar conductivity of sodium acetate will be equal to what? The limiting conductivity of acetate ion plus limiting conductivity of Na plus ions. If we have the limiting conductivity of CH3COOH and NaOH, I'm just giving you what are the things that we will be requiring, and H2O. Just look at these values. What are the values we are talking about? If we have the limiting molar conductivity of CH3COOH, NaOH and H2O, if we have these substances limiting molar conductivities, now look at it, what I'm saying carefully. This value, right, lambda m infinity for the sodium acetate will be equal to, observe this carefully, lambda m infinity of acetic acid plus lambda m infinity of sodium hydroxide minus lambda m infinity of water. You just check how this formula will come, because what is the lambda m infinity of acetic acid? Acetate ions limiting molar conductivity plus H plus ions. What is NaOH? Na plus ions limiting molar conductivity plus OH minus ions. We are subtracting water, because what will be the water limiting molar conductivity? The molar conductivity of H plus ions plus molar conductivity of OH minus ions. So H plus ions minus H plus will come here, OH minus minus OH. So both will be cancelled. Remaining will be what? Just lambda m CH3COO minus infinity plus lambda m Na plus infinity. So the sum of these two is nothing but what? The limiting molar conductivity of the sodium acetate. So this way, if we have, so it is not like we can just like that find out. If we have the limiting molar conductivity of some electrolytes and we can make a combination like this, either we can add some and subtract some, maybe we can multiply with a particular factor and then add or subtract. If we can algebraically work out so that we exactly get this value, I mean the basic thing is we must get this value. So when we are doing the limiting molar conductivity of the acetic acid plus limiting molar conductivity of the sodium hydroxide minus limiting molar conductivity of the water, what we are essentially doing is we are trying to get this combination, the limiting molar conductivity of the acetate ions plus limiting molar conductivity of the Na plus ions. So if you are able to make the algebraic calculation like that, we will be able to find the limiting conductivity of the unknown electrolyte. We will work out a problem on this also.